Sveicināti Delfi TV ētrā. Raidījums Kāpēc šodien atsāk jaunu sezonu, un mūsu viesis ir grupas Okean Elzy līderis, politiķis un tagad arī Ukrainas bruņoto spēku leitnants Svjatoslavs Vakarčuks. Ar viņu saruna par Krievijas iebrukumu Ukrainā un arī paša lomu Ukrainas armijā. Neliela piebilde, intervija nenotiek tiešraidē, mēs to ierakstījām dažas dienas iepriekš. Iemesls gan mūsu viesa grafiks, gan arī nepieciešamība šo interviju pārtulkot latviski. Filmēšana notika neierastos apstākļos brīdī, kas bija pieejams intervijai. Viesis atradās ceļā, jo šobrīd grupa ir tūrē. Svjatoslavu Vakarčuku, welcome to Kāpēc.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Paldies.
You are now on a world tour named Help for Ukraine, and this is not a commercial tour. You're collecting all the proceeds and donating them to Ukrainian children who were hurt during this war. Do you have any impressions of this tour so far?
From one point of view, this is maybe a typical tour for us because we're traveling a lot. We're having a great time with our audience, and we sing the songs we used to sing them before. But from the other side, it's certainly some very unique experience when you understand that you are singing and you are performing in peaceful European or Asian venues while in your country, while the country is at war. And I cannot forget about this a single moment while I'm on the stage and out of the stage as well. And it brings you some special emotion. That's why all these concerts are so memorable. And all of them are like they're special.
Is there any specific moment or maybe atmosphere during some specific concert that stays with you more than others?
Yes, first of all, we have a lot of Ukrainian people there, some of them refugees, and most of them are bringing Ukrainian flags with them. So at one moment during the concert, you feel like you are in a big blue and yellow sea, And we did have a lot of flags before, but this time I think it's like everybody's, feels like it's their duty to bring some blue and yellow stuff. Even yourself, I see you have yellow and blue thing on your jacket, which I thank. And people also, they expect you to sing some songs you maybe don't sing very often. And some new songs that I've written especially about war and during the war.
In one of the interviews, when this tour has already started in Georgia, you have said that you wish those concerts to be not only about sorrow, but also make them somehow inspiring. And I think for many people, this was a surprising statement because, well, I was also surprised thinking, what can there be inspirational in such time?
People need positive things. Even during war times, people fall in love. People sometimes get married. People give birth to children. People have some moments of joy, of inspiration. The background is always very negative. because of war, people being killed and buildings being ruined and everything. But even during the hardest times, people some positive things. And I think that they also help them to survive, to go through, difficult moments. You know what is the most important thing for soldiers on the front line? Humor. Because if you joke, means that you're alive, not only physically but spiritually. If you are confined within your fears, within your stress, makes you more vulnerable. So warriors who can joke and who can make it easy sometimes, they are, I'd say, more effective. Not to say about the nation as a whole. So I think that these concerts help people to live through difficult times. And they definitely help me and help the guys in the band.
But surely performing and gathering donations is not the only purpose of this tour. I'm convinced you're meeting opinion leaders and politicians in the countries where you go. Are you bringing them some specific type of message? What are you trying to achieve in meeting them?
There is very, very simple message that we keep repeating and keep saying all the time. And it's the message that goes like this. Ukraine now fights not only for the future of Ukraine, but also for the future of the whole free world, for the future of free Europe, of Western civilization. Because Russia imposed war on Ukraine mainly because of the fact that they don't want Ukraine to become part of Western civilization. Because somehow they fear that Ukrainian paths to the West will ruin their idea of Russian world, and that's why it will be an existential threat for their country. And when Putin says that Ukrainian behavior is existential threat to Russia, he's not lying, he's true. But not the expansion of NATO, not Ukrainian treaties with European Union, not our move towards former European organizations. What scares him and his elite. The general idea that Ukraine prefers and chooses freedom and dignity to security of authority, it's absolutely unthinkable for them. So they think that without Ukraine, Russia will stop existing as an empire, and they are obsessed with, this idea of Russian world, which for me means Tsarism, autocracy, and lack of freedom and dignity. And this is fundamental difference between us and them. We think that the state exists for a human being. And they think that human being exists for a state. And my message to Europe, to politicians and to the audience is, we are fighting for you, not only for us. So that's why we expect your help. We expect your compassion, your empathy, but also your material help, sanctions of the enemy, military aid, financial aid, all these kind of things. It's not that we want it. It's not that we like having it. It's just we need it because it's inevitable that to conquer, to fight and to to win victory in this war. Ukraine is David and Russia is Goliath. And we are smaller and they are much more powerful. So we need your support. And also we need to be very, let's say, creative.
If we go back to how the war began, can you recall morning of 24th of February? What was happening for you on that morning?
24th of February started at 4 o'clock in the morning for me, and as I always keep saying, it never ended. It's still the 24th of February for me. It's a one long day, and maybe it will be over when we win this war, not earlier. It's certainly an allegory, but there is something there. At least first weeks or months of war felt like one day. And I remember I was in my bed, and I didn't sleep well because I predicted something already. We felt like a day before that something's gonna happen. We felt it. It was in the air. So I remember I woke up at 3 o'clock and I was watching Security Council meeting, and then finally the news broke that declared this special operation. And immediately after this news, probably 10 minutes later, I literally heard first signs of this military operation. On the right of me, there was a military airfield, and they bombed it, so I felt this bomb there.
In some of the interviews, you were saying that this first 3 days, you spent kind of helping people to get out of Kyiv region. How was that for you?
There were a couple of people who I didn't know, but mostly these were people who I knew and their relatives. So it was I just did what I needed to do, and I felt. It was strange a little bit because I never worked like a driver, but I was literally a driver. Not only because I just wanted to help them, but because it was effective. There were so many checkpoints and people were so suspicious. So when they saw me behind the wheel, so it was easier to pass all these checkpoints, and it just made sense from a practical point of view. I was a sort of, multipass.
But at that moment, your family was out of Kyiv, right?
Yeah, it was in a safe place.
And are they still in Ukraine, or did they?
Yeah, they are in a safe place, and I'm trying usually not to tell a lot about my family because of obvious reasons. I can see them time to time. Unfortunately, I cannot see them when I want. So first 3 months of the war, I didn't see neither my wife nor my 1-year-old son. Now I'm the father of already another beautiful daughter. She's 1 month and a half. So I had a chance to be with her. But I like him. It's not normal life when your children growing.
It must be really hard not to see your newborn baby often.
Yeah, I have seen her. So I spent some time with her, but this is a very little time. So I cannot be 24/7 with them. But I understand this, and I think it's my choice. Some people choose to be with their family, and they say they just feel the most important thing for them. I understand this point, and I can get this point. But my point of view, now is not the time for when you think primarily for your family. You need to think for the whole country. And actually, when I'm going to these concerts in Europe and even going to a front line to sing for troops, I'm actually doing it not only for the country per se, but for children, for my children, children of other people, because I want to make sure that we win this war now, so our children don't need to go to this war in 20 years once again.
You say that you felt that the war is coming, that it's inevitable.
Yeah, it was in the air. I didn't know for sure. I still had some hope that maybe the worst won't happen, but mentally I was ready for that. So it was not total surprise for me, like for many Ukrainians. I followed the story. I know politics. I know history. I know Russia.
But could you have ever predicted that it would last so long and be so brutal like what we see now?
You see, Russia is obsessed of conquering or subduing Ukraine. So they've been trying to do it for many years. First, they tried it economically. It didn't go well for them. Then they tried it politically, and they had 2 Maidans. And then they decided to steal Crimea and then to impose a proxy war in Donbass, so to make Ukraine, infected by a tumor, and then to impose just to give these Donbass territories back to Ukraine under Minsk agreements, and thus have an iron grip on Ukraine. So that didn't work as well. Neither with Poroshenko nor under the Zelensky. Ukraine was doing anything Russia wanted. We had our own choice. We were drifting slowly, but very, let's say, confidently to west. And so Putin kills calculus. I don't know if it's maybe it's it is malign calculus. But anyway, what he did think that maybe it's his last chance, and he used this chance. So I could predict that, but that doesn't make this war less horrible and need of Putin and his elite more understood, or let's say explainable. I think that so it doesn't explainable, but you cannot justify a single day or single decision of this war, because they are killing my people, they are destroying my country, and they're also making the world a worse place. It's not only about Ukraine. Look, a famine in Africa, energy crisis in Europe, refugee crisis, all of these things. It's all because one person went crazy.
You yourself initially, at least this is what is public information, you were ready to stop that, to stop everything you've been mentioning. You were ready to take up arms, and you enlisted.
Yes, that's correct.
So, but you were ordered to do something else.
Yeah, it was. We had a discussion, or I would say we discussed it with the head of, so with responsible persons. You can do with your voice for army and for country is absolutely incomparable to what you can do as an officer on a battlefield. So please keep doing what you do. And I understand maybe they're right, but for me it was very important to enlist. For me, it was very important, mentally for me, it was important that I go and I enlist. and I'm not, hiding or, justifying that I cannot do it. So I was ready, and I'm still ready. But maybe I agree with them that what I do now is more effective, and I will keep doing it how long is needed till our victory comes.
But in case this order changes, you're still ready to actually take up arms.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to dangerous places so many times now, so I know that it's frankly, for these 4 months, I've been on the front line, not for time that, it's comparable to how to some soldiers and officers in the battlefield, because there were literally days and days and days that we spent there. It's mostly in April, May, then June and July as well. Now, after we finish this leg of the tour, I'll come back, and I miss these guys so much. These men and women are really the best Ukraine has.
So to our viewers, maybe I'll make a little clarification. I'm sure that not everyone knows this, but you go to the front line and you sing to soldiers, to
sing, talk, just spend time with them, sometimes having a meal together, making photos, doing videos for them. But mostly as I speak to them and then I sing to them.
And
we did already 125 performances on the front line. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 performances a day.
If it's I'm not entirely sure that for security reasons this is something that you can disclose, but you said that you were in those dangerous situations. Were you at any point close to being, hurt by the enemy fire?
When you are at the front line, you always are close to be hurt. It's like, you are in the dangerous zone. So sometimes you're lucky, sometimes not. And certainly it's fearsome, and certainly it's dangerous, but the trick is not to be fearless. The trick is to control your fear. Because I think fearless people, normal people, it's normal for a human being to feel fear. But a brave person is not one that doesn't feel fear, but one who can control his or her fears. And I think that's important. When you go there, you know what to do. And yes, there is, so get me right, please. I'm not trying to, it's not bravery or it's not desperation. I understand what I'm doing, and I'm not trying to go to places which are uncontrolled, are too dangerous, because I don't have enough preparation. I'm not well trained for that. So I'm only doing what I'm told that I can do.
Do you have some special kind of security team or something like that?
Yeah, I have a team. I'm not going there alone, but let me not disclose this for security reasons.
Yes, of course. About this performing there, what is it like? Do soldiers ask you for some specific songs or?
Sometimes yes. It's also these performances are a little bit complicated by the fact that I'm not a complete guitarist. So I can play guitar, very basically. So there are some songs of us that I cannot play. For example, sometimes people ask the song "Ja ne znam se bez boje." I'm not giving up without fight. So it's popular, but I really cannot play it on guitar. It's difficult because as a pianist, I sometimes use difficult chords when I compose songs, and I cannot, repeat them on guitar then.
When I was preparing for this interview, I've asked my colleagues and friends if there's something that they would like to know and hear from you. And one of them said, and I'll quote this, she asked me to ask him how can he sing without immediately starting to cry. And I guess you say that your role on the front line is to bring up morale, but how can you yourself manage to keep it together?
I'm a sensitive person. And I can cry sometimes. I can feel tears in my ears when I watch a movie on OS, sing a beautiful, or hear a beautiful song, a piece of music. So arts makes me cry. But and when I compose my songs, which then I feel I'm very moving, they also sometimes touch me to the depths of my soul, so I can feel tears on my eyes. But generally, mostly I sing their songs that make me feel confident. Even love songs, even songs of that are songs about difficult, complicated relationships between two beloved people. Even these people, these songs, they give you hope. They give you inspiration. So I don't know. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't. Last time I was crying listening to my own song was when I first time watched an edit of the last video of Okean Elzy, and I know that many people have been crying, so I'm not an exception. I had tears in my eyes because I think it's a beautiful video, although the song was written and recorded more than 2 years ago, and I kind of got used to it, but it was like for the first time I saw it, and heard it.
Do you do something special to be able to, because I guess what people on the front line are, I would assume that they're looking to you for, well, the same inspiration and positivity. Is there anything, do you have some technique to kind of be strong in front of them?
I am in front of them. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a different person. I'm not their commander. And I think that soldiers on the front line, they feel if you're true or false. And they also feel if you're playing with them or being yourself. And, I think that just to be with them, to chat with them, to share a meal with them, to be one of them, it's very important. The fact that I'm coming there as Ukrainian, as their brother, I think that inspires them, and certainly it inspires me. And these meetings and these concerts, if you can name that concerts, performances, they look nothing like our typical concert in, let's say, in Arena Riga. And there is no rock star and the audience there. There are just Ukrainian people, all of us fighting for our future, themselves with machine guns and tanks and artillery, and me with my guitar.
If we look back to time before the war has started, and the reason why I'm asking this question is because for you and for Okean Elzy, huge part of your fandom came from Russia. A lot of people there are fans of your music. And one could say that, well, even before the war, publicly you were kind of a peacemaker. You were talking against blacklisting Russian celebrities in Ukraine. In 2014, you were still ready to go there. You did perform in Dozhd Air to commemorate Boris Nemtsov. So it seems that you were thinking that some kind of dialogue with Russia and Russians is still possible. Do you think now that you were mistaken then, or was it still that way then?
I don't care if soldiers on the front line are big fans of Okean Elzy, or maybe even they turn on to change the station where they're playing and don't like our music. As long as they are fighting for our country, they are my brothers, and I'm going to support them. And there's no difference for me. Do they like our music or not? And the opposite is true as well. So today, Ukraine is at war, and our enemy, Russia, who in fact mostly support this, as they say, military operation, which cynically they called, they tried to call this way war. So I don't care if they listen to Okean Elzy and like it or not. If they support Putin, or even if they keep silent and doing nothing to stop this war, I think they are collaborators. And this is it. And it's very black and white. I'm very sorry to say that, but it's that. And there are many people who I know who lived in Russia and who, to some extent, feel this blame of, or I would say burden of, that they couldn't stop it for so many years. And now, sadly, they absolutely, there's very little they can do now. So most of these people left the country, and they keep saying and keep doing good things and keep trying to stir the public opinion. And they're not a lot of them, but these people exist, and sadly I'm very grateful to them.
The thing that I was asking in this original question was that your actions before the war, it seems that you were hoping at that time that there could be still some sort of peaceful type of cooperation between Ukraine and Russia, that dialogue was possible. Did you think that? Because
I was trying to do my best to make sure that Russians understand Ukrainians. But maybe our songs on the radios or on the playlists on YouTube were very little comparison to big Russian propaganda and to imperial, nostalgia of many people in Russia. So I'm not in the mood to discussing what would have been. We are at war. We need to win this war. Period.
I will ask you one more question about the past, though. This you were one of your big moments in the pop culture is your songs in Brat movies. Later on, these movies were, they were described as something that kind of is the essence of this evilness of the Ruski Mir and Russian world concept. Looking back at that collaboration now, what are your thoughts?
I already told you that it's useless and ungrateful occupation to discuss something in the past, especially when nowadays we came to a completely different world, completely different context, completely different paradigm, completely different whatever. So we are living in a different universe now. So there's no point to discuss, to give adequate analysis of what was there. It was a different times. It were different people. It was different situation in Russia. It was different everything. And we were acting adequately to that time. today, it's a different story.
When the war has begun, you have recorded several messages to Russian citizens. One was the first days of the war.
I will give you. I give you a good example. I just give you. I like allegories because they explain everything. They make life easier sometimes more difficult. So imagine you have a neighbor who you think was okay, and you had parties together, you went to see each other, and then finally something bad, awful happened, and this kind of behavior changed everything. 2014 changed everything for me. 24th of February 2022 changed everything for 99% of Ukrainians.
March this year, Ukraine's President Zelensky, he has put out a call to Russian citizens to leave Russia so they don't sponsor the war with their taxes. Now his position has changed, and he urged EU countries to basically close its borders for Russian citizens. Do you share this sentiment now at this moment?
I think Ukraine and the world needs to do whatever is needed to stop this war. And if you need to change the public opinion in Russia, you do whatever you can do.
So you support this idea?
I support everything that is gonna stop Russians to support Putin and his evil, kind of regime.
But do you think
it's up to Russians, and it's up to themselves to change it. They cannot live in a world to pretend nothing happens, and they are not responsible for that.
Do you think that European leaders, or maybe even world leaders at the moment, are doing enough to stop Russia? There is sanctions, there is military aid to Ukraine, or are you asking for more of specific things?
First of all, me personally and the whole Ukrainian people are very grateful for everything that European nations, EU particularly, especially Baltic countries like Latvia are doing for us. It's really amazing how much have you done, and we'll be very grateful for that probably till the end of our lives. And this is very important, and I need to admit that a lot has been done. But to value if it's enough, it's very simple. When Russia stops fighting and stop the war, it means that it's enough. Before they stop it, you should do whatever needed. Sanction and sanction and sanction until the cost of the war for them becomes high to the extent that even their ambitious and their, kind of horrible maniac style, behavior becomes impossible. So from this point of view, yes, it's not enough because the war is not over.
Is there something specific that you are still calling for European leaders to do?
There are three very specific things, and they sound very simple, though I understand they all are very complicated. First is to increase military aid, and what we need is not the quantity, but the quality, but also the quantity of the quality. So we need high technology weapons, which many countries already provide us with, but we need them more. The more we have them, the closer the end of the war is. And the nightmare, not only for Ukraine, but the whole world, including neighbors of Russian countries like yourself. Number two is certainly sanctions. And there are still banks that are no sanctions. There are travel restrictions that could be done. We were talking about that. There are many different things. And it's also very important financial sanctions. And third, maybe the most important, but the most difficult so far from what I can see, is energy sanctions. And yes, I understand that I'm not naive, and I totally see the point of why some nations cannot stop buying Russian gas right now. But I think they can do their best to stop buying it in the nearest future. And for Ukraine, it will be a sign that these nations are ready to suffer some difficulties because Ukraine now suffered big difficulties in order to save the world and Europe from Putin's, kind of maniac, desires and geopolitical dreams.
Šī atziņa arī noslēdz pirmo Kāpēc raidījumu šajā sezonā. Atgādināšu, ka esam skatāmi arī RTV ēterā un klausāmi podcastu platformās Apple un Spotify. Piebildīšu, ka līdz Saeimas vēlēšanām raidījums būs redzams nevis reizi nedēļā, kā tas ir ierasts, bet reizi 2 nedēļās. Šobrīd paldies skatītājiem par uzmanību. Tiekamies pēc 2 nedēļām Kāpēc ēterā un pavisam drīz priekšvēlēšanu diskusijās.